What's up, guys? Avilo here, bringing you a video and blinding light behind me, apparently. So, I wanted to discuss something about StarCraft 2 that I think Blizzard should address and fix. And I'm saying this stuff now, and I know it's not going to get to Blizzard. They're not going to care. Whatever. Maybe that's you know what? Maybe that's the first thing we should address. Blizzard patching StarCraft 2 multiplayer. How many videos like this have I made? How many videos have I made like this in the past couple years? And I literally, it's to the point where I make a video about it and I even mention exactly what I'm mentioning right now, how I made previous videos about it. The game isn't being patched. It's not being supported. Just real talk. Blizzard can say they're supporting the multiplayer, but they're not. And when they do put these patches out, they're way too infrequent, and usually the patches mess things up more than they fix things. So that's the first thing to get out of the way. I think the community should call for Blizzard to support the multiplayer aspect of StarCraft 2 a lot more. I know that they're doing stuff. Tim Morton on their, he's a developer on their team, does a lot for the co-op commanders and the casual stuff, which is fine. But their multiplayer team, to me, feels like it's just in shambles, or they don't have any direction at all. And their lead, I'm assuming a certain guy, David Kim, is the lead balance developer. Still, he has no idea what he's doing, and he doesn't know the game. Or whoever's making these balance decisions doesn't know the game, or they're too afraid to make changes to break the game. So they need to support the multiplayer. The multiplayer is not being supported. It hasn't been supported well for years, and that's just a fact of the matter. It's not me being toxic or trying to yell and scream. It's just a fact of the matter. Multiplayer StarCraft, besides Blizzard throwing money at tournaments, at WCS and whatever other tournaments, which is fine. That's great. That's great. That's a form of support, but it's not. The game itself is what will, if they support the game itself, fix problems with the game, address balance more consistently. That's what I call multiplayer support. So you see it with League, you see it with CSGO, you even see it with Overwatch, you see it with, Dota, where they consistently patch the multiplayer aspect of the game, especially for League, and I don't know about Dota, but I know League for sure. But they patch often, almost every 2 weeks. You'll see some patch notes being dropped by the by people from Riot about changes to certain champions or items or whatever. That's what StarCraft needs and has needed for the longest time. We just had 4 months ago, Blizzard made a big ruckus about Mech Viability, and then they completely just dropped the ball and went silent on it, went back on it. If anything, right now, mech play is actually worse than it has ever been. The mech patch has made mech almost unplayable, to the point of unplayability where it's literally me screaming and raging every day on stream. I see other players really frustrated and really disheartened with the way the game has, with the way that patch has made the game. The mech patch, Mech Viability, that we received was Blizzard buffing the Swarm host to insane levels of bullshit, to the point that if you go mech, if you decide to play a mech game, you're going to play against Swarm host every single game for the rest of your life. That needs to change now, not weeks from now, not months from now. It's already been months, and a lot of people are frustrated about it. It's very limiting when Terran is limited to just playing bio competitively. They need to bring back mech. They need to bring back strategic diversity. But yeah, Blizzard needs to patch the multiplayer more, and they need to know what they're doing. The last patch that just came out yesterday or the day before, buffed Hydra health for no reason. That's completely off the mark. That's going that Hydra health, that makes Mech worse. That makes Hydras ridiculous against Protoss. And they buff Corruptor speed. Corruptors move faster than a stimmed bio unit. Corruptors are permanently stimmed, as that's their movement speed. Which, again, another terrible change that makes Mech even worse, because now you can't kite Corruptors with Vikings properly. So these changes are poorly thought out, poorly designed. They just they reek of people that don't play their own game or talk to high level people. And like, for example, those changes were done. The reason Blizzard just did those is because of carriers. Carriers are absurd, and they have been for a while. So instead of fixing the thing that they messed up and admitting that they made a mistake and they overtuned carriers, they add more problems to the game and make Mech worse and other things worse or messed up, instead of just addressing the fact that carriers are carriers are broken. They've been broken for months as well. The top 3 balance issues with this game right now in terms of units, I mean, just off the top of my head, carriers, Raven auto turret, swarm hosts, Vipers, carriers, did I mention that? Yeah. Burrowed infestors are a little over the top, but, you know, Zerg players aren't going to complain. And 3 Rax Reaper they finally kind of fixed, but not really. They did like a slight nerf to the cooldown on the grenade, which is, I don't really know what that changes. You can still 3 Rax Reaper if you want to. But anyways, we need more patches, and we need, like, what else can I lit? Pylons under the ramp. Look, this is another thing that I have to say that I've mentioned on stream and that has to be said. Blizzard, the game isn't growing right now, guys, and Legacy of the Void is absolutely an inferior game to Heart of the Swarm in every way, shape, and form. And why is that? There's so many stupid ways to lose the game to somebody that's a worse player than yourself. I mean, just yesterday, I played a game, I opened Reactor Hellion into starports, and then suddenly 5 queens are dropped in my base. And so, because I opened with a certain build order that doesn't counter that build, and the guy just flies overlords on tier 1 on hatchery tech with 5 queens into my base, I automatically lose the game because the build orders, like, it's just a build order loss. It's a shitty feeling. I didn't lose because he was better. I lost because of our build orders. Same thing happens in TVT. There's like a random proxied factory next to your base. You didn't scout 90% of the map, and then it turns out he proxied 2 cyclones, and you did a bit, and let's say like you were going for cloak banshees or something. You automatically lose. Same thing for proxied stargates. Same thing for proxy double robo immortal all in. Same thing. They took everything that was good about StarCraft and Heart of the Swarm and Wings of Liberty, and completely went 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Because basically, the feeling that it is, like, you guys remember years ago, everybody would complain if you lose to proxy DT to Dark Templar. Somebody hides a dark shrine in the corner of the map, and then you didn't save a scan or you didn't make a spore crawler, and then 4 DTs walk in your base and you automatically lose the game just because of a build order and just because of something that's almost impossible to scout. That's what every single game of Legacy of the Void feels like. For Terran, Protoss, and Zerg. When you lose games to stuff like somebody researching Overlord speed on hatchery tech and dropping 8 lings in the back of your base, and you just did a specific build order, like, and you just instantly lose or so far behind that the rest, like, it feels like that feeling previously in Heart of the Swarm or Wings of Liberty or even Brood War where, oh, like, he just went proxy DTs and I got an automatic loss. Nothing even happened this game. So honestly, Blizzard was wrong when it came to Legacy of the Void. They were they were flat out wrong. They thought that long games were driving people away, driving casuals away from StarCraft. That's not true. If anything, those macro games where you're building up your base, building up your defenses, you're macroing off 3-base into a death ball, were actually good for the game. And they let you get into the better player usually won those games because they were macro game. They weren't just, you didn't just randomly lose to 5 adepts or 4 adepts being dropped in your mineral line and the warp prism warping in another 10 adepts shading between your bases that you can't catch. There's no counterplay. Like, stuff like this, it's really stupid. Same thing with Invincible Nidus Worm, same thing with 3-Rax Reaper. Like, this stuff is not fun to play against. It takes no skill to do, takes no practice to do. It's completely build order centric. You make a decision before you see what they have. They make a decision before they see what you have. And if their build order, if he happened to go proxy Stargate Oracle, and you didn't build the eBay, and you went for like a Widowmine drop, and your drop is going across the map, and you didn't build an eBay to build turrets back your base, and there's just a random Stargate on the map, Oracle flies in, you lose the game. How fun is that? That's not fun. StarCraft has always been a game where there's a build up. There's a build up, and then stuff happens. You fight, and then it's back and forth. It's not. StarCraft has never been a game of only DT rushes, and that's what Legacy of the Void is. Every single game is a DT rush. Every single game is a proxy DT shrine. Essentially, like, you get the feeling. You get what I'm saying, guys. Every single game is like you're being proxy DT'd, and then 4 DTs walk in your base. In this case, the DTs could be, like I said, Invulnerable Nidus Worm, Queen Drop, 3-Rax Reapers, Proxy Cyclones. The list goes on. Proxy Oracle, Proxy Robo, Proxy Factory. The list goes on. And so the problem with Legacy of the Void for this has been the whole time that it's been out. The problem has been every game is a DT drop. Essentially, every game you're being proxy DT dropped. How fun is that? It's not fun. It's frustrating and it's stupid and it's bad gameplay. What I would like to see Blizzard do, and what I would like to see the community urge Blizzard to do, is put back minerals per base. Turn the game back into what it was previous, like the economy. Put more money back. Put more minerals per base. That'll help out Protoss. It'll help out Mech. Put more money back per base and make the game a macro-oriented game again that is determined by both players' skills at managing their bases, units, economies, harassment. Not just a game of DT drop, Adept drop, Invincible Nidus you didn't scout, Overlord drop you didn't scout that has Banelings in it, 3-Rax Reaper you didn't scout the barracks, you automatically lose because you didn't start your Roach Horn. Instead of a game like that where every game is a DT drop, put it back to Heart of the Swarm where every game was a macro game. You could reliably expand to your natural base every game in Heart of the Swarm and defend. You could reliably defend a lot of stuff that was coming at you. One harassment didn't just end the game immediately and the game's over and you're infuriated and you're frustrated that you lost to something that takes absolutely zero skill or forethought, or you lost to something that you could practice 8 hours a day. You could practice 8 hours a day on this game, and if you go for Reactor Hellion Banshee and the opponent goes 2 base, 6 to 8 Queen, Nidus Worm all in, you automatically lose the game without anything happening in the game because he decided to go for that Nidus build and you happen to open Reactor Hellion Cloak Banshee, which the Queens and the Roaches counter because the Nidus is invulnerable. Like, this stuff is dumb. So, this stuff needs to be addressed. All that stuff is more like design a bit, although it also has to do with balance. But in general, the balance also needs... This game is terrible. It's horrendously balanced, and the people that balance it, like I said, the Mech patch made Mech worse. The Mech patch made Swarm hosts back into the game and made it so you can't even play Mech. It also brought back Masked Raven, which is equally stupid. And then, this last patch from 2 days ago nerf the Widow Mine against Protoss. Now Mech is even more difficult against Protoss. I thought we're trying to make Mech viable, Blizzard. I thought they promised the community years ago they were going to make it viable, not make it worse and worse and worse, which they keep doing. And then they nerfed the Liberator as well. Another hit to Mech and hit to Terran. And then, of course, you know, the Corruptor and the Hydra buffs. Mech is worse again. And these balance changes are just horrendous. So what I would like to see are Swarm hosts removed from the game. Honestly, like, just fix them, delete them, make it so they're so expensive you can't do what you can. If somebody goes Mech, but the problem is the Swarm host doesn't belong in the game. Let's just all be honest. Like, people are gonna say that I'm biased or someone else is biased saying that. Swarm hosts do not belong in the game. They create an entire issue where they make free units, which gives you free income, a free income generator. You're not supposed to have free money in StarCraft. The unit doesn't belong in the game in its current form or its old form before. Both are overpowered as hell, especially against Mech, but they don't belong. It just doesn't belong in the game. You could argue the same thing for stuff like Raven auto turrets and infested Terrans from infestors, but I think those, like the auto turret, can be fixed if they just make like auto turrets cost 75 energy instead of 50. That way your entire army will, like, late game will not just be all Raven auto turrets. You'll only have 2 auto turrets per Raven instead of 4. Or in a lot of cases, it, like, making the auto turret cost 75 energy just fixes a lot of the mass auto turret nonsense. That the same patch that made Swarmos absurd, that would be fixed easily. But yeah. And also the carrier. Fix the carrier as well. So that was you know, I'm hoping Blizzard will do something, because it's getting really frustrating every single game. I can't go Mech, you can't go Mech, no one can go Mech and have a game that's not against somebody that makes 20 Storm hosts every game. And this is part of the problem. These get, like, this should, the fact that this, people knew about this from the test mod because people gave feedback about it. They didn't listen. They knew about this from the patch because right when it came out, the first week, this was known about. They didn't listen. It's months later, they're still not listening or even mentioning Swarm hosts being ridiculous, or the fact that they've made Mech worse and worse and worse. Like, how many pro games did we see of Mech at IEM? Maybe like 2. Maybe like 2, 3, and that's it, out of like over 100 games or something. So yeah. In general, to take from this video is, if Blizzard truly wants StarCraft 2 to grow, and I'm not sure they want to anymore. I don't know if they really want to anymore. It seems like they're all tired out of it or something. Like, I know you guys aren't, the community isn't, I'm not. Like, I want this game to start growing again. But if they want it to start growing, they need to patch the multiplayer. They need to support the multiplayer. It's called supporting the multiplayer aspect of the game. They need to patch it much, much, much more often. I've only said this so many years, and it still hasn't gotten through to anyone. Well, I mean, a lot of you guys in the community understand, but it seems Blizzard still refuses to change their balance philosophy for the multiplayer aspect of the game. And that has really hit the game hard in terms of viewership and people playing the game. But the biggest thing to take from this video is Legacy of the Void needs a lot of changes, because that feeling of losing to proxy DT, that's how every game of Legacy of the Void feels at the moment. And it's a terrible feeling. So, thanks for watching the video, guys. There's plenty of ways that this can be addressed. I feel like, myself, I have plenty of ways I could say to address it. A lot of you guys in the community have ways you could give feedback to Blizzard to address it. I feel like it's falling... It'll just all fall on deaf ears at this point, so I really hope Blizzard gets their stuff together when it comes to the multiplayer part of StarCraft 2. I really hope that they start supporting the multiplayer more and patching more often. I don't have high hopes for it, but you never know. It's really up to the StarCraft 2 community at this point. It's not even... If you guys nudge the bear, if you nudge the bear that Blizzard is, if you wake up the sleeping bear or whatever, they'll do it. They'll support the multiplayer more. But if if the community is divided, saying that like, no guys, the game is fine, like they don't need to patch it, and then people like me that want them to support the multiplayer, if you're actually divided in this, it's gonna take longer for us to get them to do anything. So I think the community should be like 100% together on this issue of like, please support the multiplayer more often with patches. That's all. Anyways, I'm gonna make another video a little bit about my stream and whatnot later. So, yeah, see you guys later. Peace out, everybody.